The massive observation deck of the Interstellar Tactical Academy glittered with the light of 1,000 stars. Alex Ryder pressed his palm against the transparent aluminum viewport, gazing at the swirling nebula that dominated the view. Beautiful colors, purples, blues, and pinks, danced across the cosmic canvas as if painted by some celestial artist. First time seeing the Zathura cluster up close, a voice vibrated behind him. Alex turned to see a shimmering, translucent figure hovering nearby. The being's gaseous form shifted between shades of green and blue as it spoke. Yes, Alex nodded, smiling at his roommate. Nothing like this back on Earth. Gleep, as the gaseous entity called himself, pulsed with a friendly yellow hue. Most sentients find it overwhelming at first. Your species adapts quickly, though. We have to, Alex said with a small laugh. It's pretty much our only superpower. The massive space station that housed the Interstellar Tactical Academy, ITA to the cadets, orbited at the edge of the Zathura cluster, far from the busier trade routes. Its isolation served multiple purposes, preventing espionage, providing varied training environments, and ensuring that accidents during training exercises wouldn't endanger civilian populations. Alex had arrived just 3 standard days ago, one of only 7 humans in his incoming class of over 300 students. The academy represented the pinnacle of tactical and strategic education in known space, drawing candidates from over 70 different sentient species across the galaxy. Orientation begins in 10 minutes. Gleep reminded him, his form condensing slightly in what Alex had learned was anxiety. Instructor Kthar is notorious for starting precisely on time. Alex nodded, straightening his standard-issue gray uniform. Let's go then. Wouldn't want to give anyone a reason to send me packing on day 1. They made their way through the curved corridors of the habitat ring. Alex still marveled at the diversity surrounding him. A group of crystalline luminites floated past, their bodies refracting light in hypnotic patterns. A hulking Krellian with mottled red skin and 4 massive arms stomped by, barely acknowledging the smaller beings in its path. 2 insectoid ziphids chittered excitedly, their translucent wings vibrating as they conversed. The main auditorium was designed to accommodate every known sentient species in the Galactic Union. Sections have been modified for different atmospheric requirements, gravity preferences, and physical dimensions. Alex found himself directed to the standard oxygen breathers, moderate gravity section, alongside a handful of other bipedal species. A hush fell over the assembled cadets as a massive figure strode onto the central platform. Instructor Kthar was an imposing Xylosian, standing well over 2 meters tall, with 4 powerful arms and granite-like skin that reflected the overhead lights. His voice, amplified by the room's acoustics, resonated throughout the chamber. Welcome to the Interstellar Tactical Academy. You have all been selected based on your potential, not your accomplishments. Here, that potential will be tested, refined, and, for many of you, found wanting. Kthar's 4 eyes swept across the auditorium, seeming to linger momentarily on the human section. Alex felt a twinge of unease. Humans were relative newcomers to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years ago. They were still viewed with skepticism by many older species. The next 3 cycles will determine whether you have what it takes to become tactical officers for the Galactic Union. Our methods are rigorous. Our standards are uncompromising. Our facilities are the most advanced in known space. As if on cue, the ceiling of the auditorium transformed into a transparent dome, revealing the swirling colors of the Zathura cluster above. Several gaseous cadets, like Gleep, rippled with appreciation. Tomorrow, your physical assessments begin. Rest well. You'll need it. As the assembled cadets filed out, Alex caught snippets of conversation from a group of Krellians nearby. Did you see how many humans they've let in this cycle? One rumbled. 7. Last cycle, there were only 3. Waste of training resources, another responded. They'll wash out in the first phase. No special abilities, no enhanced strength, mediocre sensory perception. What do they bring to a tactical team? Alex pretended not to hear, but Gleep pulsed with an indignant purple. "They underestimate your kind," Gleep said once they were out of earshot. "This is unwise." Alex shrugged. "It's fine. Better to be underestimated than overestimated." Back in their shared quarters, Alex reviewed the orientation materials on his datapad, while Gleep hovered near the ceiling, absorbing ambient energy for his evening nutrition. Their room was a study in contrast. Gleep required no furniture, while Alex had a standard bed, desk, and storage compartment. A specialized atmospheric regulator ensured the room could accommodate both oxygen and the trace elements Gleep's species required. "Are you concerned about tomorrow's assessment?" Gleep's voice resonated from above. Alex set down his datapad. "Honestly, yes. I've seen the requirements. They're calibrated for the average capabilities across all member species. That puts humans at a distinct disadvantage. Yet your species has a seat on the Galactic Council. 7 seats, in fact." "Politics," Alex said with a wry smile. "We're good at making friends, and we're stubborn enough to keep showing up until people let us in." "Perhaps stubbornness is its own form of strength," Gleep mused. "Let's hope so," Alex replied, settling into his bed as the room's lighting automatically dimmed. "Because I'm going to need every advantage I can get." The assessment arena was a massive circular space with a high ceiling and reconfigurable terrain. Currently, it displayed a simple obstacle course with varying challenges: climbing walls, balance beams over simulated pits, strength testing stations, and more. Alex stood in line with his assigned assessment group, trying not to feel intimidated by his companions. A tentacled Octavian stretched its limbs in elegant patterns. A Krellian, one of those from yesterday, Alex noted, flexed all 4 of his muscular arms. A Luminite hovered slightly off the ground, its crystalline body pulsing with confidence. Instructor Kthar stood at the front, his expression impassive. "Each of you will complete the course. Your performance will be measured against the baseline standards for your species. Begin when your name is called." One by one, the cadets tackled the course. The Octavian flowed over the obstacles with liquid grace. The Krellian powered through, breaking one of the strength testing devices in the process. The Luminite simply floated over many of the obstacles, though it struggled with the sections requiring physical manipulation. Then it was Alex's turn. "Cadet Rider, Human, Earth," announced the automated system. Alex approached the starting line, acutely aware of the eyes watching him. He heard murmurs, probably wagers on how quickly he would fail. He pushed the thoughts away, focusing instead on the course before him. The buzzer sounded. He sprinted forward, tackling the first obstacle, a 10-meter climbing wall. With no adhesive pads like the Octavian or levitation like the Luminite, he had to rely on the handholds and his own strength. His muscles strained as he pulled himself up, finding a rhythm in the movement. The balance beam came next, suspended over a pit of bubbling mud. Alex moved carefully but quickly, using his arms to maintain stability. A misstep would mean failing this section. He wobbled once, but recovered, reaching the other side intact. The strength test loomed ahead, a resistance bar calibrated to species-appropriate levels. For humans, it required lifting approximately 150% of average body weight. Alex gripped the bar, planted his feet, and lifted with everything he had. The indicator barely reached the minimum threshold, but it was enough to register as a pass. On he went, through the remaining obstacles. By the end, his uniform was soaked with sweat, his lungs burned, and his muscles ached, but he had completed every section of the course. Not with the grace of the Octavian or the power of the Krellian, but completed nonetheless. He stood at the finish line, breathing hard but standing tall. The display board flashed his results. Pass. Minimum standards met. The Krellian who had disparaged humans the day before snorted. Barely scraped by. Pathetic. But Instructor Kthar's expression had changed slightly. It wasn't quite respect, but perhaps a re-evaluation was occurring. "Adequately done, Cadet Rider," he said, making a notation on his datapad. "Proceed to the next assessment station." As Alex walked away, He heard Thar speaking to another instructor, his voice low but still audible to Alex's human ears. The human completed the course. No advantages, no special abilities. Just persistence. Won't be enough for the advanced training, the other instructor replied. Perhaps. Perhaps not. We shall see. That evening in the mess hall, Alex sat with Gleep, who had passed his assessments with flying colors. The gaseous being's form rippled with congratulatory yellow. You defied expectations today, Gleep said. I heard many discussing it. Alex took a bite of the protein-rich meal provided for oxygen breathers. It was bland but nutritious. Just A1. Tomorrow will be harder. Always modest, you humans. Gleep expanded slightly, his equivalent of a pleased gesture. This is why I requested you as a roommate. Alex raised an eyebrow. You requested me? Indeed. My species is good at sensing potential. You have much of it, hidden beneath your unassuming exterior. Before Alex could respond, a shadow fell across their table. The Krellian from the assessment stood there, his 4 arms crossed over his massive chest. Ryder, he rumbled. You got lucky today. The real training starts tomorrow. The Vortex Acid Forest Simulation. No human has ever completed it on the first attempt. Alex met the Krellian's 4-pupiled gaze calmly. Then I'll be the first. The Krellian laughed, a sound like grinding stones. Bravado won't save you from chemical burns and simulated predators. He leaned in closer. I am Borg, top of the combat assessment. Remember my name. You'll be calling it when you need rescue. As Borg stomped away, Gleep condensed anxiously. The Vortex Acid Forest is indeed formidable. The acid rain affects even species with natural armor. For a human with exposed skin. I'll figure something out, Alex said, though his mind was already racing through possible strategies. Humans have been adapting to hostile environments since we first crawled out of the primordial ooze. Later that night, Alex stayed up reviewing everything available about the Vortex Acid Forest simulation. It was a training environment designed to test adaptability in hostile conditions. Simulated acid rain would fall intermittently, causing mild chemical burns to exposed skin. The terrain would shift unpredictably, and programmed predators would hunt the cadets. The objective was simple: retrieve a marker from the center of the forest and return to the starting point. Simple, but not easy. As lights out approached, Alex had formulated a plan. It wasn't elegant, but it might just work. Humans might not have natural armor or extraordinary abilities, but they had something just as valuable: the capacity to learn from those who did. The simulation chamber was a marvel of holographic projection, environmental manipulation, and advanced robotics. As the cadets assembled at the entrance, Alex noted the different preparations each species made. The Luminites had formed protective crystalline shells around their more vulnerable components. The Krellians, including Borg, had applied some kind of resinous coating to their already tough skin. Gleep and other gaseous entities had compressed themselves into denser forms. Alex, meanwhile, had improvised. He'd modified his uniform, sealing the openings with emergency repair tape from the maintenance bay. He'd fashioned a crude hood from a spare uniform component, and he carried a small container of neutralizing solution he'd synthesized in the chemistry lab that morning. Instructor Thar observed the cadets' preparations with apparent interest. When his gaze fell on Alex's makeshift protective gear, his stone-like features shifted into what might have been amusement. Resourceful, Cadet Rider, he noted. But will it be sufficient? Only one way to find out, sir, Alex replied. Thar nodded. Indeed. Cadets, your objective is clear. The simulation begins in 30 seconds. Your performance will be monitored and evaluated. The entrance to the simulation slid open, revealing a dense, alien forest. Strange, twisted trees with purple-black bark stretched toward a sickly green sky. The ground undulated subtly, covered in luminescent moss. In the distance, eerie calls echoed through the canopy. Begin, Thar commanded. The cadets surged forward. Borg and the other Krellians immediately took the lead, charging through the underbrush with brute force. The Luminites floated above, seeking aerial paths. The Octavians flowed through the vegetation with sinuous ease. Alex moved at a steady pace, neither rushing nor dawdling. He observed the patterns in the forest, noting how certain plants recoiled from approaching cadets, how the ground seemed more stable along certain paths. He watched as Zip-hit cadets stumble into a patch of reactive spores, triggering a defensive cloud that left the insectoid coughing and disoriented. Learn from others' mistakes. Adapt. Overcome. The first acid rain began 15 minutes into the simulation. It fell in hissing droplets, steaming where it hit the forest floor. Alex pulled his makeshift hood tight and applied some of his neutralizing solution to the exposed parts of his face. It stung, but it was better than the alternative. He watched as several cadets scrambled for cover. One, a reptilian saurian, wasn't fast enough. Its scales sizzled under the caustic rain, and it retreated toward the entrance. Simulation failed. Alex kept moving, using the trees for partial cover while maintaining his forward progress. His uniform's modifications were holding, mostly. A few droplets found their way through, leaving small, painful burns on his skin, but nothing he couldn't handle. Halfway to the center, the ground began to shift more violently. What had been subtle undulations became dramatic upheavals. A chasm opened directly in Alex's path, forcing him to backtrack and find another route. The detour led him into a dense thicket of thorny vegetation. As he carefully picked his way through, he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. The distinctive hunting call of the simulation's apex predator, a creature the briefing had called a vortex stalker. The sound came again, closer this time, followed by a panicked shout. Alex peered through the vegetation to see one of the luminites trapped in a tangle of vines. The crystalline being's light pulsed frantically as it struggled to free itself. And moving through the underbrush toward it, a massive predator with iridescent scales and multiple rows of serrated teeth. The simulation was programmed not to cause lasting harm, but failure meant expulsion from the exercise and a significant mark against the cadet's evaluation. Alex had a choice: continue toward his objective or help the luminite. The most tactically sound decision would be to use the distraction to make progress while the predator was occupied. Instead, he changed direction. Approaching carefully, Alex grabbed a fallen branch. The vortex stalker was now mere meters from the trapped luminite, whose light had dimmed to a terrified flicker. Alex took a deep breath, then smacked the branch hard against a nearby tree trunk. The sound echoed through the forest. The predator whipped around, its multifaceted eyes locking onto Alex. It let out a hair-raising shriek and changed course, slithering rapidly toward this new, apparently easier prey. "Run!" Alex called to the luminite as he backed away. The crystalline being redoubled its efforts and managed to break free from the vines. Now Alex had a serious problem. The vortex stalker was gaining on him, its powerful body propelling it forward with frightening speed. He couldn't outrun it, and he certainly couldn't overpower it, but he could outsmart it. Alex led the creature on a weaving chase through the forest, using the terrain to his advantage. When the predator lunged, he dodged behind trees. When tried to corner him, he slipped through narrow gaps. All the while, he was working his way toward a particular patch of vegetation he'd noticed earlier, the same reactive spores that had incapacitated the Zip-hit cadet. With the stalker mere steps behind him, Alex dove forward, deliberately rolling through the spore patch and continuing his momentum to clear the area. The stalker followed, directly into the cloud of defensive spores. The creature reared back, thrashing and choking, before retreating into the underbrush. Alex lay on the ground for a moment, catching his breath. His uniform was torn in several places, and acid rain had left painful burns across his exposed skin. But he was alive and still in the simulation. He picked himself up and continued toward the objective. The forest seemed to grow denser, the obstacles more challenging, but Alex maintained his steady pace. He passed the bodies of simulated creatures, presumably failed hunts by the stalkers or casualties of the shifting landscape. When he finally reached the center clearing, he wasn't the first to arrive. Borg and another Krellian were already there, collecting their markers from a pedestal. They looked surprised to see him. "Still alive, human?" Borg rumbled. Impressive. Alex didn't respond, simply walking to the pedestal and taking one of the few remaining markers. Now came the hard part, getting back. The return journey was even more treacherous. The acid rain fell more frequently, the ground shifted more violently, and the predators seemed more aggressive. Alex maintained his methodical approach, using every bit of cover and advantage he could find. He was within sight of the exit when he heard a crashing sound behind him. Turning, he saw an extraordinary sight. Borg, the confident, powerful Krellian, pinned beneath a fallen tree. A vortex stalker circled the trapped cadet, preparing to pounce. Again, the tactically sound decision would be to take advantage of the situation. Borg had been nothing but antagonistic. His failure would improve Alex's relative standing. But that wasn't who Alex was. With a resigned sigh, he turned back. Using the last of his neutralizing solution, he doused himself for protection against another round of acid rain that had just begun to fall. Then he moved toward the trapped Krellian. "What are you doing?" Borg demanded as Alex approached. "Helping you," Alex replied, assessing the fallen tree. It was massive, but it had broken into several sections. "Can you free your lower arms?" Borg struggled, managing to work his secondary limbs free. "Yes, but my primary arms and torso are still trapped." "Good," Alex said, ignoring the sizzle of acid on his exposed neck and hands. "When I leverage this section, push up with your free arms." "Ready." Alex positioned himself at the largest broken section, planted his feet, and lifted with everything he had. The wood groaned as it shifted slightly. Borg's free arms strained, adding their considerable strength to the effort. The tree section moved enough for Borg to extract himself, just as the vortex stalker decided to attack. The predator lunged forward, its maw open wide, revealing rows of gleaming teeth. Borg, now free, met the creature head-on, using his 4 powerful arms to grapple with it. The Krellian's natural strength was impressive, but the stalker was designed to challenge even the strongest cadets. They struggled in a violent dance, crashing through undergrowth. Alex didn't hesitate. He grabbed a jagged branch from the fallen tree and, timing his move carefully, jammed it into the hinge of the stalker's jaw when it opened for another bite. The creature thrashed wildly, trying to dislodge the obstruction. "Now!" Alex shouted. While it's distracted, together, they sprinted for the exit, the sounds of the stalker's fury fading behind them. They burst through the threshold of the simulation chamber, markers in hand, mission complete. As the simulation faded around them, returning to the sterile white of the chamber walls, Alex became aware of the many eyes upon them. Thar stood nearby, his stony face unreadable. Other instructors and cadets who had already completed or failed the exercise watched with varying degrees of surprise. "Cadet Ryder," Thar's voice rumbled. "You had a clear path to exit." Returning to aid Cadet Borg was tactically unsound. Alex straightened, ignoring the pain from his acid burns. "With respect, sir, I disagree. A tactical officer must consider all assets. Leaving a capable ally behind weakens the team overall." Thar's head tilted slightly. "Even an ally who has shown you no respect. Potential allies are still assets, sir." Something that might have been approval flickered in Thar's 4 eyes. "An interesting perspective. Cadet Borg, do you have anything to add?" The Krellian looked uncomfortable, his usual bravado diminished. The human, Cadet Ryder, showed unexpected courage and strength. Thar nodded. "Both of you, report to medical for treatment. We will discuss your performance evaluations later." As they walked toward the medical bay, Borg spoke quietly. "You shouldn't have been able to lift that tree section. Your muscle mass and leverage were insufficient." Alex shrugged, wincing at the movement. "Adrenaline, probably. Amazing what the body can do when properly motivated." "Perhaps," Borg said, sounding unconvinced. "My people have a saying, 'Judge not the warrior by their weapons, but by their will.' I may have judged incorrectly." The medical bay of the IDA was staffed by a diverse team equipped to handle the biology of dozens of species. Dr. Lyra, the head physician, was a Tholian, a being composed of living energy contained within a crystalline exoskeleton. Her hands were fields of manipulative energy that could perform delicate procedures with extraordinary precision. Acid burns, she noted, examining Alex's injuries. Second degree in multiple locations. Why didn't you withdraw when your protective gear was compromised? The mission wasn't complete, Alex said simply. Lyra made a sound that might have been exasperation. Your species has an interesting relationship with pain. Most sentients have evolved to avoid it. We've evolved to work through it when necessary, Alex replied. The doctor applied a cooling regenerative gel to the worst of the burns. This will accelerate healing and prevent scarring. You should rest for at least. How soon can I return to training? Alex interrupted. Lyra's crystalline features shifted in what was clearly surprise. Most species would require at least a full day of recovery for burns of this severity. I'll be fine by tomorrow morning, Alex assured her. Humans heal quickly. Not that quickly, she countered, but made a notation in his medical file. I would strongly advise against strenuous activity for the next 24 hours. Alex simply nodded, knowing he had no intention of following that advice. The next few weeks followed a similar pattern. Each day brought new challenges: zero-gravity combat training, simulated spacecraft piloting through asteroid fields, tactical problem-solving under extreme conditions. Alex approached each with the same methodical determination, never the most naturally skilled, but always finding a way to complete the objectives. His body collected minor injuries along the way: bruises from combat training, strain from overexertion, the occasional burn or cut from environmental hazards. To the amazement of the medical staff, he treated most of these as mere inconveniences, often saying things like, "It's just a scratch," or "I've had worse from playing sports back home." Word began to spread among the cadets. The human who wouldn't quit. The soft-skinned creature with a hard resolve. Even Borg and his fellow Krellians began to show a grudging respect, especially after Alex held his own during a hand-to-hand combat exercise by using leverage and technique to compensate for his relative lack of strength. Then came the day of the combat simulation, the most intensive and realistic training exercise of the first term. Cadets would face off in pairs within a complex arena filled with obstacles, hazards, and unpredictable elements. Training weapons would deliver painful but non-lethal feedback to simulate real combat damage. The pairings were announced the evening before. Alex found himself matched against Borg. "This should be interesting," Gleep commented, his gaseous form shifting through concerned shades of blue. "Borg has been the top-ranked combatant in every assessment." "I know," Alex said, reviewing the rules and parameters of the simulation. "I'm not going to outmuscle him. I'll need to outsmart him." "He respects you now," Gleep noted. "Ever since the forest simulation. Respect won't stop him from trying to win," Alex replied. "And I wouldn't want it to." The combat arena was a massive circular space filled with various terrain features: elevated platforms, trenches, barriers, and environmental hazards. Observation galleries surrounded it, filled with instructors and cadets not currently participating. Alex and Borg stood at opposite sides of the arena, each armed with a training staff that could deliver electromagnetic pulses tuned to the nervous system of the wielder's opponent. For all practical purposes, being struck would feel like a real injury, though no permanent damage would occur. Instructor Kthar's voice echoed through the arena. "Cadets Ryder and Borg, this exercise will test your combat skills, tactical thinking, and adaptability. Victory is achieved by incapacitation or surrender of your opponent. Begin." Borg wasted no time, charging forward with impressive speed for his size. Alex moved laterally, using the terrain for cover. This would be a battle of contrasting styles: Borg's overwhelming force against Alex's agility and strategic thinking. The first few minutes were a tense dance of positioning and probing attacks. Borg's reach with the staff was longer, and a single solid hit would likely end the match. Alex stayed mobile, looking for patterns in the Krellian's movements and weaknesses in his defense. A break came when Borg overextended on a powerful swing. Alex slipped inside his guard and landed a strike to the Krellian's torso. The training staff discharged its energy, causing Borg to grunt in pain. But the Krellian was tough. What would have incapacitated many species merely angered him. Borg retaliated with a flurry of strikes, using all four arms in coordination. Alex blocked and dodged as best he could, but one blow caught him on the shoulder, sending a shock of pain through his body. He rolled with the impact, using the momentum to create distance. The match continued, both combatants landing occasional strikes, but neither gaining a decisive advantage. Alex was tiring. Human endurance was impressive, but Krellians were designed for sustained combat. He needed to end this soon. That's when disaster struck. As Alex maneuvered around a raised platform, a mechanical malfunction occurred. The platform, designed to rise and fall randomly, suddenly dropped at full speed, and Borg was standing directly beneath it. Without thinking, Alex lunged forward. "Borg, look out!" The Krellian turned, his four eyes widening as he saw the massive platform descending. But it was too late to dodge. The platform would crush him, training exercise or not. Alex threw himself at Borg, using all his momentum to push the much heavier alien clear of the danger zone. He succeeded in moving Borg, but couldn't fully clear the area himself. The platform struck Alex's left side with terrible force, pinning him to the ground. A horrific crack echoed through the arena, followed by Alex's cry of pain. The simulation immediately halted, the hazards freezing in place as emergency protocols activated. "Medical team, to the arena." Thar's voice thundered. "Malfunction on Platform 7. Borg was already at Alex's side, his four arms straining to lift the edge of the platform. "Hold on, Ryder. Help is coming." Alex's face was contorted with pain, but remarkably, he was still conscious. "Is everyone clear?" he managed to gasp. "You're the only one injured," Borg assured him. "Why did you do that? You could have saved yourself." "Instinct," Alex said through gritted teeth. "Couldn't let you get flattened." The medical team arrived, led by Dr. Lyra. Her energy fields quickly assessed the situation. "Multiple fractures, possible internal bleeding. We need to lift this platform carefully." With Borg and two other Krellians assisting, they managed to raise the platform enough for the medical team to extract Alex. The human's left arm and leg were clearly broken, with the bone visibly displaced beneath the skin. Blood soaked his uniform where jagged edges had pierced through. The assembled cadets and instructors watched in shocked silence as Alex was placed on a medical transport. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he tried to sit up. "I can walk," he insisted, despite the obvious agony in his voice. "Just help me up." "Absolutely not," Dr. Lyra said firmly. "You have multiple compound fractures. You need immediate surgery." "Just a splint," Alex argued. "I've broken bones before." "Not like this," Lyra insisted. "You're going to surgery now." As they began to move him out of the arena, Alex caught Borg's eye. "Good match," he said, attempting a smile that came out as more of a grimace. "We should finish it sometime." The Krellian stared in disbelief. "Humans," he muttered, shaking his head in what might have been respect, concern, or both. The news spread through the academy like wildfire. A human cadet had been seriously injured saving a Krellian from a malfunctioning platform, and had then tried to walk it off as if it were a minor inconvenience. The story grew with each retelling, some claiming that Alex had actually stood up with his broken limbs before being restrained by medical staff. In the surgical suite, Dr. Lyra and her team worked to repair Alex's injuries. The damage was extensive: compound fractures to the left humerus and femur for broken ribs, a partially collapsed lung, and significant soft tissue damage. "His pain response is abnormal," Lyra noted to her assistant. "Most species with these injuries would be in shock, but he remained conscious and oriented. And look at these readings. His body is already attempting to repair the damage." "Humans are known for their regenerative capabilities," the assistant replied, "though nothing exceptional compared to species like the Axolian regenerators. It's not the speed that's remarkable, but the functionality during trauma," Lyra said. "His system didn't shut down. He kept fighting." In the observation room outside the surgical suite, Thar stood with several other instructors, watching the procedure through a transparent panel. The platform malfunction was a critical failure, one instructor said. The safety protocols should have prevented such an accident. They should have, Thar agreed. And yet, the human's response is most instructive. No hesitation, no calculation of personal risk. An instinctive sacrifice to protect another. Even a cadet who had shown him hostility, another instructor noted. The human concept of team seems to supersede personal animosity, Thar said. A valuable trait in a tactical officer. The surgery lasted 3 hours. When it was complete, Alex was transferred to a recovery room equipped with advanced regeneration fields to accelerate healing. The prognosis was good. With the Academy's medical technology, he would recover fully, though normal protocols suggested at least 2 weeks before returning to training. Gleep was the first visitor allowed in, his gaseous form carefully controlled to avoid disrupting the medical equipment. "You have become something of a legend," he told Alex. "The human who saved a Krellian and tried to walk away from injuries that would incapacitate most species." Alex, groggy from medication but remarkably alert, managed a small laugh. "Greatly exaggerated, I'm sure. Not as much as you might think," came a new voice. Borg ducked through the doorway, his massive frame barely fitting in the recovery room. "You saved my life, Ryder." "You would have done the same," Alex said. Borg was silent for a moment. "I would like to think so," he finally replied. "But I'm not certain I would have reacted as quickly when facing an opponent." "In the arena, we're opponents," Alex said. "Everywhere else, we're colleagues. Maybe even friends." Borg made a rumbling sound that might have been a Krellian version of embarrassed laughter. "Humans and your friendship. Always seeking connections. It's how we've survived," Alex said. "We're not the strongest, fastest, or most naturally gifted species. But we're good at working together, with each other, and with anyone willing to join us." Before Borg could respond, Dr. Lyra entered the room. "Visitation time is over. Cadet Ryder needs rest." As Gleep and Borg left, Lyra reviewed Alex's vital signs. "Your recovery rate is impressive, even with the regeneration fields." "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a falling platform," Alex admitted. "But I'll be fine. How soon can I get back to training?" Lyra's crystalline features shifted in what was clearly exasperation. "The standard recovery protocol for injuries of this severity is 2 weeks minimum before light duty." 2 weeks? Alex looked genuinely distressed. "That's not possible. I'll fall too far behind. Your body needs time to heal properly, even with our technology." "What about 1 week?" Alex countered. "I promise to follow all other medical advice." Lyra made a sound that translated across species as a sigh. "I will monitor your progress closely. If, and only if, your healing continues at its current exceptional rate, we may discuss modified training after 1 week. But absolutely no combat or high-impact exercises." "Deal," Alex said immediately. True to his word, and to the astonishment of the medical staff, Alex's recovery progressed at a remarkable rate. By the 4th day, he was insisting on performing rehabilitation exercises that would normally be introduced much later in the recovery process. By the 6th day, he had convinced Dr. Lyra to allow him to attend theoretical classes, though he remained restricted from physical training. When he first appeared in the tactical theory classroom, supported by a hovering mobility aid, the room fell silent. Then, spontaneously, the assembled cadets, of all species, stood in a gesture of respect. Even the normally reserved instructor Thar inclined his head slightly. "Your seat has been kept open, Cadet Ryder," Thar said. "We will continue from where we left off." The next week saw Alex's gradual return to full training, though he still wore medical stabilizers on his healing arm and leg. He approached each exercise with the same determination as before, adapting his techniques to work around his limitations. By the end of the term, Alex had become something more than just another cadet. He had become a symbol of human resilience, of sacrifice for one's team, of the ability to overcome physical limitations through will and ingenuity. In the final assessment, Thar called Alex to his office. The imposing Xylosian sat behind a desk made of some dense metallic material, reviewing a datapad. "Cadet Ryder," he began, Your performance this term has been instructive. Your technical scores are above average, though not exceptional. Your combat skills are adequate, though limited by your species' physical capabilities. But your tactical thinking, adaptability, and leadership qualities are among the highest in your class. Thank you, sir, Alex said. Moreover, your actions during the platform malfunction revealed a quality that cannot be taught or trained, a willingness to put others before yourself, even at great personal risk. This is perhaps the most essential quality in a tactical officer who will be responsible for the lives of others. Thar set down the datapad. The Academy has reviewed its evaluation criteria in light of your performance. We have been reminded that tactical excellence comes in many forms, and that our standards must recognize this diversity. Sir, in simple terms, Cadet Rider, you have changed how we view human potential. Your physical injuries would have ended the careers of many cadets. Your mental resilience in the face of those injuries has set a new benchmark. Thar stood, his massive frame towering over Alex. You will advance to the next term with a specialization in adaptive tactical response, and you will assist in developing new training protocols that better accommodate the unique capabilities of all species, including humans. I'm honored, sir, Alex said, genuinely surprised. But I was just doing what needed to be done. And that, Cadet Rider, is precisely the point. Thar extended one of his four hands. The galaxy needs tactical officers who do what needs to be done, regardless of the personal cost. You have demonstrated that quality in abundance. As Alex shook the instructor's hand, he reflected on how far he had come since that first day, standing uncertainly in the observation deck and gazing at the Zathura cluster. He had arrived as an outsider, a human in a galaxy of extraordinary beings with amazing abilities. He would continue as something else, still human, still physically ordinary compared to many of his peers, but recognized for the qualities that made his species unique. That evening, in the Academy's common area, Alex found himself at the center of an unusual gathering. Cadets from a dozen different species had assembled, including Borg and his fellow Krellians, Gleep and other gaseous entities, Luminites, Octavians, and more. We have been discussing your recovery, Borg announced. It is unprecedented. Even with medical technology, your healing rate defies explanation. Alex shrugged. Humans have always been good at bouncing back. It is more than that. A Luminite interjected, its crystalline body pulsing with curious light. You continued to function despite injuries that would incapacitate most sentient beings. You attempted to walk with broken limbs. You returned to training before your bones were fully healed. And you show no sign of psychological trauma from the experience, added a telepathic Medusan. Most species develop avoidance behaviors after such injuries. Alex looked around at the circle of curious faces. Honestly, it's not that special. Humans have evolved to keep going through pain and injury. In our early history, a hunter with a broken leg who couldn't continue meant the whole group might go hungry. So, your ability to walk it off is an evolutionary adaptation. Gleep asked, his form shifting with fascination. Something like that, Alex agreed. Plus, we're pretty good at convincing ourselves that things aren't as bad as they seem. It's just a flesh wound, as an old human saying goes. Remarkable. Thar's voice came from behind the group. The instructor had approached unnoticed. A psychological adaptation as significant as any physical one. The ability to minimize pain and continue functioning. We call it grit, Alex said. Or sometimes stubbornness. Whatever it is called, Thar said, it is a quality we would do well to study and understand better. Perhaps there are training techniques that could help other species develop similar resilience. As the discussion continued, with cadets from different worlds sharing their own cultural approaches to pain and injury, Alex realized something had fundamentally changed. He was no longer viewed as the weak human, the curiosity admitted to the Academy despite his limitations. He had become valued precisely because of his human qualities, his adaptability, his resilience, his refusal to quit. In a galaxy full of beings with extraordinary abilities, sometimes the most extraordinary ability was simply getting up after being knocked down, dusting yourself off, and continuing forward, one step at a time. 2 days later, in a training exercise involving hazardous material handling, Alex accidentally spilled a mild caustic solution on his hand. As the safety protocols activated and concerned cadets gathered around, he simply rinsed the affected area, applied a neutralizing agent, and continued with the exercise. "It's fine," he assured everyone. "Just a little chemical burn. Barely even hurts." The gathered cadets, Krellians, Luminites, Octavians, and more, looked at each other with expressions that translated across species boundaries as a mixture of disbelief, respect, and growing understanding. "Humans," Borb muttered, shaking his massive head. "Indeed," Thar agreed from his observation post. "Remarkable creatures." And Alex Ryder, human cadet at the Interstellar Tactical Academy, continued his work, unaware that he had become a living legend. The human who got injured during training and walked it off like nothing happened, forever changing how the galaxy viewed his species.